The all or nothing mindset might actually help you. Okay, you might have heard the all or nothing mindset is the worst thing possible, or that it's something that you need to completely throw out. I disagree. Sometimes the all or nothing mindset can actually be really helpful. I think there's definitely a fine line between helpful and hurtful, but we're going to dive into that. Welcome back to the Get Buff with Reads podcast, where we dive into everything health, wellness, and mindset. Today's episode, we're talking about the all or nothing mindset. And contrary to popular belief, I think it's not the devil that we make it out to be. There's actually lots of pros to the all or nothing mindset. It's just dividing that fine line and knowing when it's helpful and when it's hurtful and optimizing that. But I think another thing that's really important here is personality types. Some people are naturally built for that all or nothing mindset. They will strive if you put them into that mind frame, where there's other people where it just won't work for them. So let's dive into this episode and see if the all or nothing mindset is helpful or harmful to you in particular. Most fitness coaches will tell you that most people struggle with consistency. Whilst I don't completely disagree with that fact, they'll also then follow that up with most people go all in and then fail. And that's not wrong in a statement as itself. But does everyone that goes all in fail on the first hurdle, or is it just some people? Now, this is the kicker. For some people, the all or nothing mindset is great. It works really, really well for them, and you often find this personality trait in people that are high performers or have a high level of output. For certain personalities, it's the only thing that keeps them going. Let's start off with what is the all or nothing mindset. So, the all or nothing mindset is the belief that someone either jumps into something wholeheartedly, that you need to go into something 100% in order to be successful at that one particular thing. So you could go all in on your health and fitness. That could mean being on your nutrition 100%, getting in all your workouts, just ticking every single box. Or you could go all in on your career. You might be somebody that gives your job 100%. Every single day you show up and you give it everything you've got. For some people, they will give 100% to everything. I'm not saying every single task that they have in their life, but they will apply the same mindset to each category in their life. The thing with the all or nothing mindset is you're either all the way in or you're all the way out. There's no in between. So you're not 60%, you're not 80%, you're not even 20%. You're either 100 or you're zero. And that means you're either going to be completely successful at something or you're not even going to attempt it. Let's try and put that into an everyday perspective. How many times have you tried to adhere to a new diet or a new fitness plan and you've got to day one or day two and you've had that hiccup? You've reached for that chocolate bar or you had that packet of crisps or someone decided it was pizza night today and you were like, I'm not missing out on pizza night. So you decided in that moment, okay, I'm just going to start again on Monday. So in this instance, you were all out. Instead of saying, okay, cool, I'm going to have the chocolate bar, the crisps, the pizza, and then straight afterwards, I'm getting straight back on it. I'm going to be refocused. Yes, this might be a little blip, but I'm not going to wait all the way until tomorrow to start over. I'm just going to carry on. Have you been there? Most people haven't. Most people will say, no, I'll wait now until next week. Next week will then turn into next month, and so on and so on. And then you become stuck in this cycle. So, when most fitness people say the majority of people are struggling with consistency, this is exactly what they're talking about. This mentality of if I trip up or I have a little bump in the road, then there's no point continuing now. I will just have to start over completely. Where the actual key here is just longevity and picking up things that are sustainable and accepting that you're never going to get everything 100% right. But just keep going and just not punishing yourself in the moment and thinking, hang on a moment, let me chill. Did the world end when I had that pizza slice? Absolutely not. Can I carry on now and just tick off the rest of my boxes for the day? Absolutely. Will I feel better about myself if I just keep it moving? 100%. The thing is with this mindset is it's not completely bad. It's really how you frame it. So if you frame it in the mentality of, okay, I really want to give everything 100%, that's never a bad thing. The issue is when you decide that if there's a bump in the road, that you're just going to stop because now there's no point. So if we utilize the momentum of the beginning of this, the beginning of I want to be all in and I want to tick off all my boxes, we can definitely utilize that. Here's the part that's probably going to surprise you. For some people, they thrive on extremes. They thrive on going completely in on something. For some people, it's more important to be 100% committed, have clear structure and a plan, and that's how their brain works best. I can say this because I am one of those people. For me, going all in on something is just how I'm wired, and I genuinely thrive off it. If I go all in on a certain task or even just a certain area, I will give it everything. But here's the difference. Yes, I will give it everything, but if there's a blip, it's how quickly I can refocus and get straight back to it. So let's say something doesn't go to plan. We'll talk about diet here because I feel like that's something most people struggle with. So let's say my plan for the day was to have my 4 to 5 meals and to be on point every single meal. But I was running behind schedule that day and I didn't make it home in time to grab the meal that I had already pre-prepared. So instead, I had to grab and go. I had to jump into a Tesco's, grab a protein smoothie, grab a protein yogurt, whatever it was, and I had to keep it moving. Now, most people in this moment will go, well, I'm not going to make it home in time, so I might as well just get whatever I fancy eating. Okay, if we look at high performers, athletes, CEOs, anyone that's a really high achiever in their field, most of these people are very, very intense. And everything they do with a very high intensity. So these are the type of individuals that are more likely to go all in on something. Normally, they will break things up into smaller chunks, smaller projects, and they will give each project 100%. The reason these individuals think like this is because they're intensity driven. Intensity does drive home results. If you look at a marathon runner, they need to consistently train with structure where their day is planned down to the minute. And they know if they follow through with that plan, they will get results. They will be one of the fastest people in the world. I'm talking about sprinters there. But the same with marathon runners. They'll be at the top of their game in terms of their time. Another great example here is bodybuilders that are getting ready for a competition. They know they need to be 100% in order to get the results that they need to get on stage. They can't be half in and half out on this. They have to be all the way in. High performers will struggle with balance. If you are at 100 miles per hour consistently for a period of time, at some point you will burn out. There will be nothing left in the tank. You'll be running on empty and you will hit a wall. High performers will often set almost impossible standards for themselves. So if they don't meet them, they then have this level of inadequacy, or they think they're not good enough because they didn't achieve what they set out to do. And often it's not they didn't achieve what they set out to do, they might not have achieved to set out what they wanted in the time frame they had in mind. Many also have a hard time adjusting. So if something doesn't go 100% right, they find that very difficult to deal with. This also makes it very difficult for them to sustain long term habits. Now, this is how high performers can make it work, and this is what I implemented in my own routine. You can treat your fitness like a training cycle, where there's periods where you will be performing at a very high intensity. And that will be followed by periods of more recovery. So your body won't always work at 100%. Now, what's a really good one to take into consideration here as a woman is your cycle. So just because you're lifting, let's just throw out a number here, 120 is your deadlift. And that's your deadlift at the strongest point in your cycle. Now, if we go to the week before your period and during your period, that drops significantly. Your numbers are down to, you're struggling with 80, you're barely hitting 90. And once you realize, okay, if my body naturally goes in these phases where there's points where it's stronger and there's points where it's weaker, and what I have to do is work with it rather than against it, you suddenly realize you don't need to be at 100% all the time. Because if your body naturally doesn't perform at 100% as a woman, then how can you be expecting yourself to perform at 100% in anything else? Nature is literally telling you there's times where we go full steam ahead, and then there's times where we back off a little bit. You have to look at it as your superpower. One thing I work really hard with my clients is realizing that progress is still progress. Some progress is better than no progress. If we're not getting 100, it's okay. As long as we're moving forward and we're moving the needle forward one step. It doesn't need to be 100%. If you can understand that 80% effort consistently is better than 100% effort for a short period of time that's followed by burnout, that's the only concept you need to get your head around. So if you need to scale back slightly to be able to maintain that for a really long period, then do that because that is going to be more efficient. If you're listening to this and realizing that you're stuck in the all or nothing mindset trap, I have something for you. I've put together my free resource, The Buff Hub, where I break down strategies to help you stay consistent, build strength, and feel confident in the skin you're in. It's completely free. No gimmicks, just straight value. If you want in, I'm going to drop the link in the description box for the Buff Hub. Or DM me Buff Hub on Instagram and I will send you the link directly. Okay, let's get back to it. Sometimes the only way to reach a certain level of success is to go all in. But that doesn't mean it works for everyday life. Everyone isn't going to respond to the all or nothing mindset in the same way. And this is where our personality traits will really come into play. We're going to break up personalities into 4 different types and look at how each personality type responds to the all or nothing mindset and how to best utilize it to work for you essentially. If we start off with the high achiever, this is somebody that wants to go completely all in. They thrive on that intensity, but they're unable to sustain it because it risks burnout for them because they are so focused. Then we'll have the perfectionist. So the perfectionist believes that the only way that they can be successful is by going all in. Now, when they struggle to go all the way in and stick with it, they feel like a failure because they don't think they succeeded. They will struggle with small slip ups, and for them, that equals failure rather than recognizing that they can carry on. Then we have the free spirit. They really struggle with any structure and they just want to go with the flow. So they will really struggle with any type of rigid plan. They need an approach that gives them some flexibility whilst also providing them structure so they can move closer to their goals. But it really is that flexibility that's important here for them. The balanced planner. The balanced planner has got it all figured out. They recognize that going all in can be helpful, but they need to ensure that they're not maxing out. So instead, they scale back to about 80% because they know if they stay at 80%, that can be consistent for them over a longer period of time. And they know that's going to be more efficient. They're really good at adapting without going all the way to the extreme. Let's look at finding a middle ground so we can make this sustainable for ourselves. There's a couple of different strategies that we can put in place to make the all or nothing mindset work for us instead of us working for it and failing. Step one is building a system and not relying on motivation. So instead of focusing on an emotional reaction that you need to keep you going, instead build a system that you will adhere to no matter what. So, no matter what happens in your day, you know that you will stick to the structure that you have set into place for yourself. The key here is making it something that is easy to do. Make it something that's not going to make you think, oh my gosh, I need to get that done, or oh, I just really can't be bothered. Instead, think of it in a way of I'm going to place some small things into my daily habits that maybe I don't want to do them, but I know they're small enough that I will just get them done. Step two is embrace the all or something. So if I can't get in my full 60 to 90-minute workout, I'm going to do 30 minutes. Or I can't make it to the gym today, so I'm going to figure out a way that I can do that workout from home. Or I'm really busy today that I might not have prepped my meals in the way I thought I had, so I'm going to grab something that's high protein and good for me en route. You want to focus on better choices instead of focusing on perfectionism. Next is step three, and that's the 80-20 rule, and I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's fundamentally staying on track 80% of the time and allowing yourself flexibility the other 20% of the time. It's taking away the stress of feeling like you need to be perfect 100% of the time. So if you adhere to the 80-20, it means you've nailed down 80%. So that other 20% doesn't need to be 100%. It gives you room to not always get things right, to be flexible, which leads us really nicely into step four. Just be flexible and go with the flow. Things are not always going to go the way you want them to do, and you need to give yourself room to adjust. Room to think, okay, that's fine. It might not have gone exactly how I wanted it to, but now this is what we're going to do. And then step five is just getting on with it. These hiccups will happen regardless. No one gets everything 100%, but what matters is how quickly you react. So, okay, I slipped up, I had the chocolate cake, cool, whatever. Now, what do I do next? How do I get back on track? You move on from it instantly. And what matters is how quickly that thought process comes through. You want it to become almost like natural instinct. Instead of dwelling, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed. I ordered that takeaway. I didn't need to eat it. Now I feel gross. Instead of having that mindset, just think, okay, cool, I've had it. That sucks. But now, how do I get right back on track in this moment? Not tomorrow, not Monday, in this moment. Okay, do I need to really ensure my hydration is up and ensure I still get enough sleep? Or do I need to make sure I schedule my workout now for the morning because I was supposed to go this evening? Now I've had this takeaway and I really just can't do it. Think in the moment, what can you do in that moment to change the narrative and get you back on track? the end of the day, it's not necessarily about getting rid of the all or nothing mindset. It's about finding ways to use it to your advantage. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, so don't forget to leave a review or drop me a DM about how you feel this affects you. And if this episode helped, send it to a friend who it could help too. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.